Boys.
What up?
What's up, 1Q?
Boys.
You guys started or?
We're
No,
just
Dustin's doing the
yeah,
doing
we're
the
just about to start. I think
yeah.
it is live. Can somebody check
I
YouTube
made it.
to make sure?
Yeah, it looks live to me.
Okay. All right. So we're just gonna start. No real intro. Let's just make this as casual as possible. We're gonna start with Alex. So I think Mike and Wonku are here, but they can chime in later after we finish discussing the exciting trade that we have since we last spoke, right, Alex?
Yeah. What's up? We got one trade this week
Yep.
to break down. So it's a real doozy here. This is definitely a procedural trade more than anything. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. I
Yeah.
realized that we're definitely gonna have some weeks where the trades are, inconsequential or maybe even no trade. So we'll kind of do this on a, need to basis. Like if you're a little busy, like certain weeks, we can like even skip and like catch up 2 weeks at a time. So no pressure to like, do these week by week necessarily. So yeah, that's up to you. But yeah, let's introduce the trade of this week.
Yeah, so yeah, trade of the week. So Mars in New England. Mars trades Kyle Monangai from the Bears, and New England sends back Malik Washington for Miami and two Fab. I forgive you if you don't. These players were not on your radar for trading this week, but I think there's some potential, some definite potential here. I think you know, Montague, I think, he was in there a little bit. He didn't really do anything, but he was in for a few plays, I
Mm-hmm.
think, and he had like one reception, I think. Yeah, and he, I don't know. I mean, Swift looked old, kind of.
Yeah, I mean
So
Swift
like maybe
kind of
there's
always looks like this, where like there are like plays where he rips off an 8 yard run, and you're like, oh, this guy's still like fast. Like he looks like he can like do stuff, and then like his vision is like very inconsistent. Anything between the tackles, he'll hesitate a little bit too much, or try to bounce it when it's not there, and then you're like, all right, this is why he hasn't become a real thing yet, right? So yeah, so I think the Kyle Monangai thing is pretty much just probably a bet on like Swift either getting hurt or just not being uh,
yeah, or just
reliable
like
enough, right?
usurping
Yeah.
enough. Yeah, like just usurping enough of the
Right, right,
it's
yeah.
week 4 and Swift is averaging,
Yep,
3.1 per carry, and it's just like time to kind of do something about it.
yep.
So so I think I think definitely a guy with higher potential than Malik Washington. I
Mm-hmm.
see why the Fab is going to Mars
Yep.
for sure
Yep.
here. I think the one thing I would say is that like Mars was pretty squeezed on like having like Malik Washington at least is a guy who you could like maybe put in your roster
Yeah.
and expect at least a few points
Yep.
in the next couple
Yep.
weeks.
Yep. Yep.
Because at least he's like out there all the time. He got a good number of targets this week.
Yep.
Um, I think Mars is kind of hurting just for like a
Mm-hmm.
couple of guys that you can actually put in your roster
Right.
in your
Yep.
starting lineup right
Yeah.
now. So
Yeah.
so
Xavier
that's the one
Worthy.
thing.
Yep. Xavier Worthy got
Yeah,
hurt. He's gonna be the option.
yeah. Worthy got hurt. He's just got a couple guys that he's been holding on to who aren't really getting
Yep.
playing time yet, like Kyle
I
Williams
think
and
my read is that Malik Washington was probably sent back. Um, I even think Mars might drop and try to pick up into his spot, but if he doesn't obviously get one of the, one or two options that he might actually want, like Malik Washington is a guy that he's comfortable, like, just holding another week or whatever. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Malik Washington drop like immediately after this trade if, a waiver goes through, or maybe not. Maybe he does see some long-term potential in Malik Washington. But I think this was just kind of his way to get off a guy that isn't giving immediate results or isn't immediately playable, instead of like accepting your offer to maybe shrink the trade, he just found a way to get the two Fab from somewhere else
right,
and shrink the
right.
trade in his own way, because now he can you know drop Malik Washington without even the $1 cap hit, which I think matters for him because he's pretty up there. So like I see this as kind of like, you said you were negotiating to like shrink the trade and he wanted stuff from you. I just see this as him kind of getting the stuff he wanted while still, while still getting that flexibility back that he should have with your trade once you guys found out you couldn't get
Right,
the score. Yeah,
exactly,
so
exactly.
I think the Malik Washington part is probably negligible for New England. They pick up if they have um a bench that has a lot of guys drop, like, Moninga is definitely, I think, a guy worth,
Hmm.
holding and seeing if,
Hmm.
Swift falters or starts losing share. So yeah, I like this for New England, but I think that's the rationale for Mars. Like, as you revealed, like, you said there was a little bit of negotiating to like shrink, and you were like, whatever, I don't want to negotiate for this. I'm just gonna keep it. So I think Mars just found a way to like extend the negotiation to shrink that trade somewhere else. He just like probably took, you know, what was left to somebody else and like just continued the talks. Like, hey, like if you give me Fab, I'll give you, this guy that I kind of want to drop off my roster, or like my roster is feeling a little bit tight anyway. So, in that sense, like, I kind of like it from Mars because you didn't want to give it to him, but he might have gotten the same effect um from that as just accepting to shrink the trade with you. So, in the end, maybe he does get the same outcome that you rejected for him. So, I think it makes sense for both sides. It's a very nothing trade, probably though.
Yeah, yeah, completely agree. I think I like I drafted Monagai. I think he's okay. Like I think it's as far as random dart throw handcuff running backs go, I think he's pretty good.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I like it. I don't think the two fab will matter. It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
and what are the chances the two fab actually matters in any universe? So if you like the player, you can get him for two fab. Just do it. It's
true.
worth it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I think
and
that's
yeah,
enough
Mars
said.
needs. So
More than enough
yeah,
said, maybe,
that's
about the
more
trade.
than enough. Yeah, more than enough.
We'll just move on to kind of recapping week one. We'll get some, like, maybe some overreactions. Maybe we'll have drawn some conclusions from this week that, will look a little bit silly at the end of the season, but that's what week one is for, right? You look at what's our first, results from all that, like, marination in the off season, and, everything seems so magnified. So we'll kind of just go kind of do you want to go matchup by matchup or team by team? Probably matchup by matchup, right? We can just talk.
Yeah, let's do matchup by
Yeah, we'll just
matchup.
go matchup by matchup. Mike Diaz and I think Wonku is with us in some form, and they can just chime in whenever um they have time, right? Or whenever they're at their mic. So
I'm here. Yeah. My
yeah, yeah.
my
So
my dinner is cooling, so I'm here. I'm sitting
okay,
here.
okay. So yeah, so everybody,
I'm
yeah,
here as
like,
well.
yeah, we can just, you know, go on everybody and see what they have to say about each kind of matchup real quick. It doesn't have to be that in depth. What should we start with? Um,
Why don't we start with Madison Great Kills?
yeah, since it's
Well,
up
we're
here, we'll just start. Both of the members involved in this are in this chat,
yeah.
um, so yeah, for Madison, I'll ask you, Alex, yourself. What did you see?
Yeah.
How did you feel? Anything that surprised you about how things played out? And is there anything to worry about? Because I mean, you are starting off with a loss. Like, is there anything that feels a little bit, uh-oh, like I didn't see this being like,
Yeah, didn't love the performance from our guy Bo Nix,
yeah, yeah,
out, out there in Denver.
yes,
Didn't look super sharp
mm-hmm,
on the accuracy with those passes.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, that's the I think that's otherwise it's kind of like it's
yeah,
like not a great score, 126, obviously not where you want to be, but I think mostly not too like mostly the players did the things that they usually
mm-hmm,
do, and it's like didn't really get touchdowns. It's like that
right,
happens
yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. My takeaway is
And
also like pretty much exactly that. Like, other than Bo Nix, like nobody popped off, which is like the reason your score is low, but like nobody else really like did anything alarmingly bad. Just like, Jameer Gibbs should have better days. Chase Brown should, you know, score over, like, Jonathan Taylor, everybody, like, except Mark Andrews, maybe your tight end spot. is something that you're
Yeah,
gonna
that
have
might
to.
be good. That's easy. Tight end, easy to shift around.
Right, right.
So
So
not
yeah, that's
super
somewhere
concerned
you
about
might be
that.
looking. But yeah, Bo Nix didn't look sharp. I didn't know if it was the defense that was really pressuring him into it, but he just kind of looked off all day. Um, you are gonna have to, I think, look out for like it's rookie quarterbacks can have a little bit like of a slump or like a slow period. So
Mhm.
it's gonna be something to look after, but I wouldn't panic yet so far. What did Mike or Wonku? Did you have any thoughts?
Um, how much patience will you have with Mark Andrews? You gonna play him next week?
Good
Great
question.
question. I think I am gonna go one more week and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming likely still seems to be out, which I think he is gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go one more week and see what happens. There's some guys on the waiver wire who are like pretty good, I think, for tight ends. So I might try to get. I mean, without going too much into
Yeah, don't
strategy,
don't
I think.
reveal your
You
hand
know,
too much. You gotta
not
say,
too. I'm not. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
what are
I'm
your
not.
bids? Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
your
right. So
your job's
I'm
completely
thinking like
safe.
maybe
He's
a
not
3 or
bidding. He's
4.
not bidding. Mark
Oh,
Andrews
well,
I'll
has
let you
his
know if you get it.
Mark Andrews
I'll
has his
let you know if
complete
you
trust.
win.
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think just like feels like tight end is like somewhat deep-ish this year. So,
Yeah.
I think I could probably go one more
Yeah.
week and see
Overall,
what
I'm gonna say
happens.
like out of the
Pretty.
yeah, out of the teams that like lost week one and put up a pretty poor score, like looking at what actually happened, I'm not that worried. Like, Bo Nix might struggle a little, but he's not gonna struggle to the tune of like, 12 and a half points, I think. Like, he's gonna maybe be a little up and down, but that's gonna be fine. And the tight end thing is, a problem that a lot of teams have, and I'm sure you'll be, keeping an eye on it, and he'll probably have better days too. And everything else actually kind of looked, promising in terms of usage or, the offense is being lively enough. So I actually think like, all things considered, not too negative on the outlook of this team.
Yeah, I think for me, when I look at it,
Mm-hmm.
the biggest reminder that I have when I look at this matchup is that defenses really matter.
Mm,
Mhm.
very
That
true.
that Denver 30-pointer right there is
It
to
is.
me the difference in this matchup.
It is. It is a big separator. Yeah. And then we'll just jump over to Great Kills then and look at the rest of their team. And yeah, like if you look across the board, it was actually pretty close in most positions. Except, quarterback obviously a little bit, and then defense was the biggest if you kind of go, across the positions. Yeah, defense was really the big differentiator, and that was a 20-point difference there. But I would say the
Yeah,
rest of
that
the
was
team.
it was very funny watching. I don't know if you were following like during that game our
Hmm.
score, but it was a funny one to follow because it was like Tennessee kept getting the ball back
Yeah,
in like the fourth quarter. It's like, all right, we're about to get some garbage time points,
yeah,
really, really crack into this defense score.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
it'd be like a sack and
yeah, yeah,
a sack and a three and out. And it's like, oh, they went from 25 to 26. All right, well now Denver gets the ball back right away. We got a chance for Bo
Bo
Nix to
Nix.
put up
Yep,
some
yep.
points,
It
turn this
actually was.
thing the
Yeah,
other way. It's like,
yeah.
That's
You
oh,
cut.
tough. Yeah.
two incompletions and a
No,
three and
that's the
out. All
worst
right, we're
feeling,
back.
man.
We're back. We're gonna get some garbage time. Crack into this Denver score. It's like,
It
oh, now they
was.
went from
Yeah.
27 to 28.
That
The
end of
hope
that
gets
game,
squashed, right?
the end of that game was really good for
Terrible.
Great Kills. Like you definitely expect your defense to lose points in this format when they're out there. Like certainly don't expect them to gain points, but I'm pretty sure in that fourth quarter, I'm pretty sure they ended up maybe even plus, and that was really funny because it definitely had the chance to like swing heavily against the defense, and Bo Nix, putting together like one good drive would have definitely made this matchup a lot closer. Yeah, but otherwise, yeah, I feel like these two teams like were pretty similar strength with like pretty similar, stuff across the board except for the defense. And I definitely caught the higher end of some matchups relatively to what Madison did. So I think these teams will end up pretty close in terms of like how we view them later in the season once we see more data. Did you guys have any specific thoughts on like how or questions about my team that you want to ask?
Dustin, Alvin Kamara had 2 targets on Sunday. Is that a Kellen Moore stat?
That is actually a really good question because Rattler seemed to be checking down a lot, but it wasn't to the running back. It was a lot to Juwan Johnson, and he throws a lot over the middle, but it wasn't to the running back. So yeah, that is definitely something should keep an eye on. Definitely two for how many times they threw. Definitely a pretty big outlier, right? But I'm not too worried about it because it didn't look like anybody else was like, stepping up to do anything in that backfield where I'm like, oh, like they're splitting this role into this. I just think maybe it could have been a factor of like, how the defense was playing it. And yeah, it's definitely something to watch and see though. Definitely because he is my running back one, and that is a little bit weaker across the board than what other teams are having. So I think we do need Kamara to be pretty strong. So it could be a concern. I agree. Alex, do you have any? What do you like? What do you think about the
Yeah,
team
no,
overall?
I think some nice positive signs, and you know the you got two Lions. I think the Lions thing. I think everybody's a little bit anxious about the Lions. We'll have to see, right? We
Yeah.
have to see if that was a weird one game thing, if their line is actually abysmal now, and that's just going to be problematic all year, and if they can have to like recreate the offense to deal with having a kind of a train wreck of an offensive line that could be a situation. That's
Yeah.
kind of a thing I'm monitoring. I've got Gibbs. I'm monitoring that as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So I think that we'll see.
Yeah.
But
I think my takeaway is like before this game, I thought this was like, a good, not great team. And after this game, I still feel about the same. Like I don't think anything drastically has changed my opinion. And I mean, would you guys agree? Like, did you think differently of this team before this week, or is it pretty much, yeah? I mean, it is what is in front of us here. It's a good
yeah,
team.
I think they looked pretty bad.
Are you talking about the
So
Lions or the
Lions or
Sky
the
Elephants?
what
the
are we talking about?
Lions, the
No,
Lions.
I'm sorry. I meant the Sky Elephant. Sorry, I meant yeah.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Right. Yeah, no, the Lions thing
y-
is concerning, and I do have two big chunks of it, so that definitely is something that could change trajectory of this team. But I don't think we saw really enough to I thought my team was like good, obviously not one of like the best, and I still probably think around that. Like, would you guys like you know change your opinions on this team after week one, or about the same?
No, I think these are two good teams, really good teams,
Yeah.
right? And I think they both kind of show that. Although I would say if I was disappointed in any team, it would be Madison, right? I thought
Yeah.
Madison would have a little bit more point total.
Right.
They were projected to be the highest
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
league,
Yeah.
as Alex had said, right, and
Yep.
pointed out. So, yeah, I mean, both teams are good. I
Yeah.
don't think, like you said, I don't think there's any big differences. And
Right.
again, they'll
So
they'll probably
yeah,
be
I think
similar by the end of the year.
yeah,
But
I think the theme of week
yeah,
one is like overreaction, overreaction week one, and these two teams, honestly, I'm not overreacting in either direction. Like to either of them, like even though Madison put up a low score, I don't think it's really something I can overreact to, and Great Kills, didn't do anything that would really make you want to overreact in either direction. So I think some of the upcoming matchups will have some chances to get some bigger overreactions. So I'll move on unless anyone has anything else to add to these two teams.
just quickly, Alex, what are you thinking? Overreact, underreact, just react on your own
for
team?
for
Yeah,
my own team.
yeah,
I mean I'm gonna practice patience here.
yeah,
Yep.
But I think I'm nervous about the lie, so I'm nervous about Gibbs. Maybe just like
mm.
I don't know if the team can't block, there's
Mm-hmm.
sort of issues.
Yep.
But we'll see. And then yeah, the Knicks. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll
I
see.
think you got to see. I think you got to see. I think you got to see a second. He really. I mean, he missed on so many
He
passes
did.
in that game.
Yeah,
It's just
it
like
was
it was
uncharacteristic.
pretty bad.
I'm not sure
Yeah, like there was
what
a
was
lot of
happening.
there was a lot of pressure. I think maybe the Titans are a little better than people think, but his first game, who knows? But like sometimes he just had time and just like the ball didn't go where it was supposed to, which is not super common. So,
Yep.
um,
All right,
yeah, we'll
let's
see.
move on to our next matchup. I'm just gonna go right down the list. We had the Harlem Scrapers, very close to the Hamilton, beat the LIC Grundle Monkeys. Let's start with the Grundle Monkeys first. Let's see. Alex, what do you think? What did you see with the Grundle Monkeys that stands out to you?
Yeah, I think having as a previous owner of the two stack
Yeah.
setup, it's a volatile thing to own.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was about as bad as it could look. And obviously getting 7 points from a quarterback is really hard to come back from.
Yep.
But also when your best wide receiver is then tied to that quarterback, and
Yeah.
gonna be hard to maneuver around that. So I think there's a lot to be concerned about. I think for the Grundle Monkeys at the moment, but some bright spots. Like Lawrence had a low score. I think that was more a game script thing than anything else. Like we didn't learn that much about the Jags
Yeah, there was a
that game.
super
So
long
I think
stoppage in that game too, and it just
yeah,
never
that
felt like
too. That
a
too.
real football
The
game that
game
was being
never
played.
got
Yeah.
momentum. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just never got momentum again after that. And so so some stuff there that's like a little concerning, but um I think that this was not like a team. When you looked at the roster before the season, it also was kind of like, oh yeah, I don't know, quarterbacks are a little
Mm-hmm.
shaky. Um, Going to need some of these receivers to really step up to carry. And yeah, if Tyreek's not going to have like this sort of mega bounce back season, it's a little hard to find where the carrying is coming
Yep.
from.
Yep. Yeah. So for me, I think this week kind of just showed me like what is the key to LIC like contending and having a good season, and how this roster is structured. It's undeniably, I think, Tua and Tyreek because they're linked. Like if Tua and the Miami offense continues to look like they did, uh, week one, this team doesn't have a chance in hell, right? Like they're just too big a part of what they have here. And yeah, they have CJ Stroud who can like sub in and stuff, but like the fact that Tyreek Hill is also like their best wide receiver, like it has to be. I honestly think both of those are gonna have to hit for this team to hit their upper,
Hmm.
threshold. I do think some of these like other outcomes are a little bit fluky. I don't think Devontae Smith and the that Philly offense is gonna be that
Yeah,
run
and
heavy.
Ridley got a lot of targets. He just couldn't
Yeah,
catch.
I mean they played
Right.
against
Like
Denver.
I
I
would
think
guess that will
It's
turn
insane.
around.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not really worried about everything else, like you said, like Trevor Lawrence, like all that stuff. But if Tua and Tyreek are like in jail all of the year, like I think even the rest of the team kind of like going off or like doing better is probably not going to be enough to really contend, right? Mike, what did you think of facing this team?
Yeah, I mean, it was very cathartic to see the Dolphin stack playing so poorly.
You were doing
Because
the
they
Loki
yeah.
scene in Thor 4 or whatever. It's like that's how I feel.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. And I mean, I think Warren as a manager is very realistic
mhm.
about his rosters, and we've seen this in the past where if he doesn't feel that he has a strong group coming in, he will go for high upside plays,
Yeah.
recognizing that if I'm going to compete, I need to hit on some
Mhm.
lower likelihood guys.
Yep.
And at this point, it unfortunately looks like he missed. It's the odds were long for a few of these guys, and I think this team's dead.
Yep. Could be a week one overreaction, but I agree. Like it's definitely the right strategy if you're not coming in with like a very strong hand. You gotta take some chances and you gotta win big on some ideas or bets that you have in your head. And I think we'll see. I mean, Miami could get up and running by like week 6, and this could look foolish. But after week 1 at least, it looks like that bet is not a good one looking so far. What do you think, Lonky?
Yeah, I mean, look, my days of being on the fence, I think they're in the past. I
Yeah,
think
you're not
this
you're not
team
you're
is
not post
not
anymore, so
looking
you
too
gotta
good.
be you gotta be spicy.
Not on the post. This is bad.
Yeah,
I mean, the makeup of a bad QB was posted earlier.
yeah,
That Tua's
yeah.
elbow, Tua's
It really
Tua's
is. It's
Tua's
crazy.
mind.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's bad. I
Tua
mean,
used to be
I don't know
accurate
about
at least, but
Tyreek,
he
but
was just like all, yeah. I mean, without Tua being good, I don't think Tyreek can be good. I'm not sure Waddle can be good. Like it's a pretty ugly
right.
offense if Tua can't deliver the ball. Like I mean,
Will
people.
Zach Wilson
Yeah,
unlock Tyreek?
people are waiting for like Zach Wilson to unlock him, and that shows how rough and how stuff is falling apart. And I don't think Miami is the tough like mindset franchise and players to like buckle down and like fix something. I think they'll all kind of just like be like, all right, that's not my mess. You fix that mess, and then like I kind of feel like this could all just like fall apart. But yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
and I think I want to extend this shitting on to not just Tua, right?
yeah.
There are two other QBs here, Trevor Lawrence
Mm-hmm.
and CJ Stroud, and I don't know. I don't know about
Yeah.
these guys right now.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
they got talent, right? I
Yeah.
think Trevor Lawrence obviously picked number 1, and CJ Stroud had that one really good year, but
Mm-hmm.
man, it is looking really bad for uh, those teams, those connections at the moment. Again, like you said, I have maybe a little bit more faith in those two
Mm-hmm.
offenses
Yeah.
trying to figure out what they're doing, but um, in the early going, it's not looking good.
Yeah. I think that is a concern. All three of the quarterbacks are, trending sideways or down mostly. Like, and Tua and Trevor Lawrence have been like, you know, they've disappointed plenty of franchises in the HFFL. So, a lot of owners are like, I don't know what you expected out of these guys, and CJ Stroud has only been with LIC, but last year was certainly disappointing coming off his rookie season, and I think so far it doesn't look like too much has changed. Um, but yeah, let's just move on to a brighter place and let's talk about Harlem. I'll go to you first, Mike. What did you see from your team that surprised you, or what weren't you maybe expecting to see? And yeah, is there anything you're worried about, or is everything pretty much looking as you expected?
Yeah, I mean, you can break down any of these guys and say, "Oh, why did CeeDee Lamb drop those passes? Why did
Mm,
Omari and Hampton have, keep, have miss these lanes or whatever?" But what's we're very fortunate is that we have a lot of very, highly ranked or
yes.
talented players, such that when things don't work out, Brian Thomas only had one catch, Nico Collins was shut down. There was plenty of guys who could pick up the slack.
Hmm.
The best thing was Justin Fields. As a Jets fan,
Yep.
it was frustrating how that game ended, but it was really cool to watch it. Um, Obviously, I don't expect him to play as well as he did every single week. Um, but after the auction where I nominated him, Duho bid him up to 10. I bid him to 11, and then there was total silence. It was cool, to see him, put the see the note on his Pinterest board and go
Yeah,
out there
yeah.
and have a good game.
For sure.
Fields for 11 definitely has potential to be the steal of the auction.
For sure. I thought it was great value. I just thought maybe Harlem needed like a safer bet than betting on Fields to, have the good side of his, career games. But week 1 was definitely very, very promising. The offense looks like it's really tailored to his strengths. He, tucked it and ran when he had to. Uh, was pretty accurate on the like they set up pretty simple like reads for him, and he executed him really well. He has great arm. He fit it into like some small spaces and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I I think the scary thing for the rest of the league is that Nico Collins, like Brian Thomas, Omari and Hampton probably did like on the lower end of what you expect, and nobody really kind of went off for them, like that, except for Fields maybe, and they still put up 180 in their sleep, and they're pretty close to the Hamilton and
Even like Daniels, I felt like had a bad. Like I wasn't watching the fantasy score that
yeah,
closely, but just like following the Giants game, I was like, it seems like kind of a low scoring. It's like
yeah. I mean,
Washington's not doing that much. They're kind of, it's like this game's kind of not going anywhere.
yeah,
And it's like still got 26, and it feels like
yeah,
they didn't even do anything.
yeah. I don't. Yeah,
It's
this
just
team.
one of those guys who's going to be like like one of like the Jalen Hurts games where you're like,
Yeah,
is he doing anything? And then it's like, oh, he's got 26, I guess. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. This team looks very scary, and the scary thing is they haven't really gotten into gear. I guess the only thing, you know, uh, is like George Kittle did get hurt for multiple weeks, at least 4 weeks. So, tight end is something that
And
they're
we
gonna
got
look at.
this Cedric Tillman poach. We got to talk about that.
Oh yeah, that's true. Oh, it involves two people on the show, huh?
On the
Uh,
show. Look at
on
that.
the show,
Look at
yeah.
that. What was that?
Yeah, wonky. Well, first talk about the team, and then we'll transition it into how
Poach
Tillman is.
talk.
Yeah, Tillman.
Yeah, sure. I think, if I were to choose a team to defend the Earth
Yeah,
against an
give
alien
me
species
Iguodala.
in football,
Give me Iguodala.
I choose I would choose Christian McCaffrey as my running back.
Yeah, hundred
I'd
percent.
put CeeDee Lamb in the slot.
Yeah,
I'll take Puka. Yeah, I'll take Puka
yeah,
and Nico Collins
yeah,
and George Kittle as my tight end.
yeah.
And that's what you're seeing right here.
It's pretty
Plus
crazy.
more, right? I
Yeah,
mean, it's ridiculous. I think it's not even an overreact. It's the best team in the league right now. It
yeah,
is. It's just
yeah,
you can't like
Oh, yeah.
as a
Oh yeah.
flex, you have Puka and Nico, right?
Mhm.
You can look across the league and see what else is in
yeah.
other people's flexes, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not a contest. It's gonna be down to, what happens, right? Like just because it looks good on paper doesn't mean it's gonna end up scoring this amount of points all the
Yep.
time. We just don't know. But
Yep.
right now I think it's the heavy favorite to me.
So here's a question I asked at the end of last show. Would you take Harlem or the rest of the 9 teams in the HFFL to be lifting the Hunter Bowl trophy at the end? Which side are you taking? Harlem or the field?
Taking Harlem.
Alex?
Wow. I'm taking the field.
You're taking the field? I
I'm taking
won't
the field.
ask Mike in case
Yeah.
don't give him any
Taking the
bulletin board material. Uh Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to take one team over 9 because there's just fantasy football is just that crazy. But
Yeah.
this is one of the teams where I think it's really fair to ask that question. And honestly, I'm leaning a little bit Harlem too, because like even even if one or two things go horribly wrong, they're still probably like the best team by only a little bit in that case. And then like yeah, I something's gonna have to go really right for some other teams to like get in this range of team. Um, so yeah, I mean, it might be
I
an
guess
overreaction, but yeah, we'll see down the line.
it depends on Christian McCaffrey's calf, I think. If he holds
Christian
up,
McCaff
if
injury,
he's still
as some
playing.
people call
Christian
Christian
McCaff.
McCaff
Yeah.
injury.
If he's playing, yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
no,
if it's a bet on Christian McCaffrey's
yeah,
health, then maybe it's not Harlem.
yeah,
God damn it.
that's
I don't
true.
know.
That's the thing though. Yeah, if CMC is healthy, I would take Harlem
God damn.
over the field by far. Like CMC is that player. Like he's consistent. He has incredibly high floor and incredibly high ceiling. Like we've seen what a healthy Christian McCaffrey does, just in terms of like not even just the player, but like the usage is just on a different level, right? So if he can stay healthy,
Yeah.
like you probably don't even you could probably have like 2 or 3 or 4 things go wrong on the rest of this team, and Christian McCaffrey being healthy will drag this team like probably to the final at least, right? But pretty big if, right? Like, he already has,
Yeah.
stuff popping up, so that's gonna have to be a we'll see. So
19 is a floor game.
yeah,
Mike.
yeah, it really
19
is.
is
Yeah.
no touchdowns.
All right.
Good
So
God.
talk us through the poach real quick. What are you what are you trying to get from this poach? You know, why did you choose Tillman of all the guys on practice squad?
Oh, I think Tillman's pretty good. I was just taking a look at uh, the practice squad again, part of the process.
Was it on
That
your
due on
radar
Tuesday.
before week 1, or is this kind of a reaction
No,
to what you saw week 1? Okay.
it was a reaction to week one. Plus, again, it's also an indictment on my own team as well, right? I think just thinking about my roster,
Mm-hmm.
where we want to be,
Okay.
I
Let's
think
move on.
there is some room to improve. So
Yes, let's move on to yours and Mars's matchup. And since we're already on the topic,
okay.
yeah, just talk about what you saw with your team. What felt bad, what felt good. Anything you weren't expecting, happen in week 1.
No, I mean I think my team was all right. I think
Mm-hmm.
the starters showed up. They played pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It was a super exciting matchup though because that Sunday night game, a
Yes.
lot of stuff happened.
Yes.
A lot of stuff, especially a lot of stuff for Mars. Um, uh, you know, Going into it, I believe I was up by 50,
Yeah.
and I had a 80% chance of winning. Um, I didn't think. I mean, I don't think I was super nervous. I
Yeah.
trust in Lamar, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then also, I was like, yeah, if Henry has a good game, then Lamar might not.
You're
But
right.
it ended
Right.
up being everyone just had a
Yeah.
freaking good
Yeah.
game. So especially Josh Allen. I mean, that guy with 50 points. And I was already dead, I think, when he kept going. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was. But I thought it was fine. Like there are some disappointments. I think if you look at my receivers,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't. A lot of them didn't show up, but that's all right. That's what happens with some of these boom bust guys. So
Yeah, and your team is
hopefully
definitely,
move on from this.
geared to be, running back strong and like, quarterback strong, which it was. And your receivers aren't bad, but they are, yeah, you do have like a little bit more of like boom bust or like question mark guys that aren't, you know, I mean, it's not Harlem's wide receiving room. There's some guys that are gonna either have to prove themselves or guys that were being a little bit doubted. I think it was good that Debo showed up, and you'll probably see better days from I think the rest of your wide receivers. So yeah, I'm not really too worried about your team personally. Like I do think you just ran into the Megazord. The Megazord strategy showed how potent it can be, right? And your score was strong. I don't think I'm overreacting to this. I do think you need to like probably shore up your bench. There's some bench duds you had, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're a resourceful owner, so you'll get on that like pretty quickly. So I would have been more worried if there were like some major concerns about your starting lineup. But other than the Purdy injury, I feel pretty good about this team going forward. Alex?
Yeah, I think the Purdy thing is the most,
Yeah.
is going to be your biggest sort of source of figuring out what to do
Mm-hmm.
because it does come up quickly that all of a sudden it's like, oh, I've got a bunch of guys on my bench I can get rid of, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, actually I'm starting to get a little crunched if I've got my IRs full and
Yeah.
my and now I need to carry 3 quarterbacks, and all that stuff gets a little you're gonna have to gonna take some maneuvering, I think, to figure it out. But um, always painful to have to cut some of these guys. I'm in the same spot too, where I'm gonna have to cut somebody, and it's like I
Mm-hmm.
don't really want to cut anybody, but you sort of sneaks up on you how fast that can happen. So, but I agree that I think that it's a pretty solid team, and Lamar Bijan, it's like that hot top end is pretty good, and I'm sure Higgins and Higgins will have better games and all that. So, and only 4 points from your kicker and 6 points from your defense, like that'll get better too.
Yeah, not overreacting. What about you, Diaz?
Now, Alex, you rostered T. Higgins before, right?
Yeah, you know what?
Wonky,
That'd
have you
be
had him before, or is this the first time?
I've won a championship with him.
Oh,
a
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's a good dude.
good dude.
Okay. Because I
Good dude.
think that there's a fair number of people who have had T. Higgins who would say, I've had enough.
Yeah, I could see that.
I can
I could
see
see
that.
that.
But this is
Yeah.
probably not the part about T. Higgins that's annoying. It's when he gets banged up and then like it's the constant like, oh, he's like questionable for this week,
It's
and
right, yeah.
you really
Your
have no
IR is
idea. Yeah, and
full.
he's got a Monday night game, and you're like, all right, what
Mhm.
am I trusting that he's gonna play or not? Like that
Yeah,
part is really annoying.
you're watching the clips. Is he running up the
Yeah,
hill or not running
yeah,
up the hill?
yeah.
Like
Like,
practice.
yeah, he
God
is
damn it.
streaky otherwise too, but like, you have to kind of throw out this game because I mean, you can't expect Joe Burrow and that offense to be that quiet every week. So, I mean, if the Bengals offense starts going off and it's someone other than Jamar Chase and T Higgins start like getting their uh, nose into like the action, then maybe you'd be worried. But yeah, I agree. T Higgins is frustrating, but this shouldn't concern you at all. Um,
Well, you got to watch out for Noah Fant. He's the
that's
touchdown
yeah.
leader in the
I'm
fantasy.
not saying it can't happen.
Damn.
It could be Yoshavas. It could be anyone. So yeah,
True.
we'll see if that develops. But it was kind of a weird game where I think since he just never got their offense going, and you kind of just have to throw that out. Okay, so
Cleveland may have a legit good defense.
true. Yeah.
True. Especially in Cleveland. Question for you guys. So what warps the season for me is the fact that Harlem exists.
Yeah.
And I have this predicament with my Debbie squad. I mean, I'm not trying to take a victory lap, but I had asked about Fannin, and now
I
he's
loved what I
like
saw.
the new
I love what I saw.
the new hotness. Like
Yeah, he is.
everyone's like,
Hotness.
"Oh, this guy is incredible." I mean, he's good. There's a reason why I have him, right? But would you activate Fannin? And then also it's the same kind of thing with the Purdy injury as well, right? Penix is sitting in my Devi.
Yeah.
And again, it's hard for me, and this is actually what I've been thinking about more than anything. I don't even think about the starters right now. I'm thinking about my Devi.
Yeah.
Do I activate these guys? Because is this year just Harlem stomping everybody, right? And I just wait, or do I? I mean, it's still week one, right? I mean, as you guys say, don't overreact. Do I activate them and try to put them in?
I think you at least, personally, I think you at least wait another week on Fannin for sure. And Penix, I don't really love the Minnesota matchup, so I might try to get Aaron Rodgers or Flacco and make it through this week without activating, and then decide if you go 0-2, then maybe you kind of have to really start hedging your way towards kind of a bridge year, maybe. Like it depends on how you look in the 0-2. Like obviously you look pretty decent in the week one loss, so maybe even after 0-2, you could still go for it. But I would probably be playing this week a little cautiously and like try to get a little bit more information out of what you think you can expect out of your team, and maybe keep an eye on like, is Harlem gonna trend high this whole time? Because like maybe this week something happens for Harlem where you're like, oh wait, no, the league is wide open, right? So it's I definitely would. I think you're thinking about it the right way. I think you're thinking like, okay, like I have to think how likely is it for me to contend this year, and you're weighing it, and I don't think there's like a clear answer so far. What do you guys think?
My philosophy in general with Devi is I want to wait as long as possible to activate these guys. They need to be demonstratively better than a player in my starting lineup for me to, because you're making a commitment. You're giving them a guaranteed contract for this year and a contract for next year, and
And it takes
the
up a
longer
keeper
you wait,
slot.
the
Yeah.
more data that you have.
Yep.
Yeah. So Fannin may become that guy where it's like he's clearly a top five tight end every week, and then you kind of have a decision to make.
Yep.
I think it's more likely that Penix becomes that guy, not just because of your injury situation, but because even if you had two healthy quarterbacks, they're going to have a bye at some point, and he's probably going to be demonstrably better than what you could get
Yep.
on on waivers.
Yep.
And so even if you think there's one team that's so much better than every other team, if you make the playoffs and you face them in a certain week and some of their guys don't play well that week, you can win.
Yep.
So I would say just focus on making the playoffs, and it's more likely that Penix is going to help you this year than Fannin. So that's probably what I'd be looking at.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I think like Fannin next week, it's not enough of a jump where you're like ready to dive in. Would be my opinion. But I think Penix, it's also like like if you want this guy, you don't want to Purdy maybe he's gonna be out for a few weeks, right? Maybe you don't want to watch Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco for 3 weeks, and it's like
sure.
it's just time to go. And it's like Penix it's probably happening at some point, is the nice thing about that. Like he's shown enough. I think it feels like pending some sort of crazy injury or something. Like it's happening, it's happening now, it's happening next year, it's probably happening at some point. So I think there's something safer that feels a little safer about that. Whereas like Fannin, it's like, sometimes a random guy has a good game. Like
or the
every year.
usage could be
Random
so
guy.
different week to week, and like Fannin,
Yeah.
I think was a good pick to like put on your Devi, because I do think like long term the talent plays, but in terms of activation, like I would have to see it be a very consistent usage thing, because it's not just like talent with him. It the Browns have to be willing to put him in their game plan week to week. So for that I would probably hold off pretty much until you're in a situation where you think you need him to like make the difference between you making playoffs and maybe not making playoffs. If you don't think he's like that difference for certain, I think you get a lot more value out of carrying him over, and activating him maybe at the beginning of next year. Even if he does work his way into being like a lower end tight end one, or like whatever, like consistently over this year, like even then you might just be better off like he would have to basically be like a top 3 or 4 tight end option every week for me to like really think about activating him this year, I think.
All right, thanks guys. I love the crowdsourcing of my team.
Yeah. Manage along with us.
Managing,
Yeah,
thank you.
and
Appreciate
let's talk about the team that maybe is the most prone to overreactions. Mars Chaos Company putting up a nice 188 points. They were projected for like I think the lowest or the second lowest going into the week by Fantrax. They started off their week with a 0 from Xavier Worthy getting just knocked out of the game on like the first play, and yet they ended up with this stunning score. And he's talked a lot about the Megazord strategy. We are seeing it live on Sunday night. Yeah, what do you think, Wang Q? What did you think? I mean, you already gave us most of your thoughts facing this, but is this a team that you think is legit?
I think like recency bias wise, yeah, this is Josh Allen. Josh Allen scores 50 points. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how many times he's gonna do that actually.
Yeah.
I think it's unique because of the fact that he faced the Ravens.
Yeah.
Like if he had just faced let's say a different team, I don't know, just something like Carolina or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. Some other weaker offense. It wouldn't have been like that, but Lamar goes and scores 40 points for the Ravens. Well, Lamar and Henry.
Yeah.
And then Josh has to respond and put up 50. And that's going to have major implications for the score. I think it's a good team. It's kind of similar to mine, right? It's the same formula. Josh Allen and Derrick Henry are going to put up the
Lamar
big points.
Jackson
And then
Bijan, Yep.
Yeah, Bijan, and then these receivers are hit or miss. They were less of a hit here, but some weeks they're gonna deliver. So it's a good team to me.
Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean that was fun. That was a fun game for all of us, except for Juan Q maybe. But it was fun. It was fun to watch. I mean, no one has more fun than John playing this game. So you gotta respect that. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be an up and down team, I think. But if you're gonna pull, if you're it's like, oh, this is the year Harlem is unbeatable. It's like, well, what if I construct the highest variance possible team?
It's actually a really good point. Yeah,
and,
like to beat a team, to beat a team that is so baseline strong, you kind of have to have this like weird Megazord team where if Buffalo gets into a shootout, even Harlem's gonna be sweating playing against this team, like, and that's pretty much all it takes for this team to just pop off and get a
I mean, who are the Bills playing week 15 here? We got
I think
it's Bills at New England. It's incredible.
Oh yeah.
That's incredible.
So yeah, he actually noticed that he has two Megazords going against each other in the same game. That one game, whoever is facing them in that week is just gonna be
Positive correlation.
incredible. Like it's like you're never gonna get a chance to breathe. Like any play is
Yeah, you could
something.
be you could be up 100 and
Yeah,
anything could happen.
yeah.
Well, it's December. It's in New England,
Yeah, at
That's
New England,
Uh,
at New England.
so we got to make sure there's a snowstorm.
That's
Pray
right.
for
That's
snow.
right.
good
Yeah,
point. Good
That's
point.
right.
yeah,
That's right. So I don't know. I like that about it.
yeah,
I think he also he's um yeah, I think obviously this roster is like really kooky. Like if you actually
yeah,
look at it, it's just
yeah.
like it's
It's
so all over the place.
uh-huh.
Um there's so little coverage. Like if you injuries and buys and stuff,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
it's
yeah. Yeah.
there's just going to be
Really?
zeros
Well,
and
first of all,
twos and stuff
whoever's
every week
playing this team
almost.
against on Buffalo's bye week is I mean I expect it's
Yeah,
gonna be a
exactly.
pretty easy
Exactly.
Oh
win.
my God, you're right.
And then
Like
the
there can be
Patriots is
like blanks in the roster,
yeah,
like
and then
literal blanks because
Patriots
there's not enough people to draft.
Patriots bye week, he's less reliant on them, but that's still going to be a lot of, spots that he's trying to cover, right? So that could be 2 weeks that he's like extremely shorthanded. And then anytime like Buffalo has a matchup where, the weather is terrible and stuff, like this is very high variance. Like I think we just saw like probably one of the higher end results for this team, but like yeah, like being dependent on one team is great when they play in a 40-41 shootout, but not so great when it's like a, you know, rainy 21 to like 14 game, right? Like they're not going to be having as much fun, I don't think. So, it'll come down to like, can the rest of the roster kind of step up enough where those weeks are covered, like and I can't say for sure. There are some interesting guys like Pickens seems interesting on paper. Rome Odunze. I think the Xavier Worthy injury wouldn't kill a lot of teams, but this team kind of needs a lot of those guys to like go off. So I would be a little bit more worried about it than most, right? So I don't know. I'm not overreacting to this. I do think he does have two of the players that can carry you through a matchup the most in Derrick Henry and Josh Allen. They're probably two out of like a 6 or 7, top tier of guys that can put up like 50 or 40 or 60 and kind of just tilt a whole matchup in their direction. But they're gonna have some very very bad days just because of like how their team is constructed. So it's a question of is the rest of the roster good enough? And I'm still not sold.
Well, he's got three guys like that because he also has Daniel Jones.
That's true. The hidden the the hidden carry Daniel Jones. Yeah, I mean Daniel Jones being
I was actually so happy
yeah.
that he benched him when I saw that. So it's true. I was yeah really hoping he would play Drake May, and he did, and that was the the by numbers the incorrect choice.
Yeah,
But yeah, when I saw Daniel Jones going off, I was like, oh boy,
yeah,
thank God I dodged a bullet. But little did I know that Josh Allen was gonna
yeah.
just dunk on me later.
Diaz, what do you think of this team? Is it the team you fear the most in the league? You don't have to say who it is, but is this the team you fear the most?
Oh,
I it, I mean, it's hard to deny them. I was sitting there
Give
on
me
Sunday
some bulletin
afternoon
board
saying,
material. You are
like
facing them in week 2,
I
by the way. So anything you say.
yeah, I know. I was sitting there saying, man, this is going pretty well. Knock on wood, the guys are pretty healthy.
Yep.
We got the Hamilton all wrapped up, all
Yeah.
sewn
Yeah.
up, and then this thing happens, and I'm like, wow, still, we're still ahead. That just goes to show. And then Roma Dunze shows up, and it's like, he's got guys. He's got some
Yeah, he's
guys.
definitely got guys. Yeah.
The thing is, this is John, and so we know that he's gonna make figure out ways to change his roster.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so if he does it in a certain way, in the right way, talking to the right people at the right times,
Yeah.
he could maybe find one or two wide receivers that are consistent enough to make this team a really serious, scary team.
Yeah, I agree.
And my question would be, at what point do you say I have three very good quarterbacks and I would rather have two very good quarterbacks and trade one of them
Yeah,
for a piece that I could start every week?
true. I think that's probably the biggest thing in Mars's favor. Like they have two unshakable, pillars in Josh Allen and Derrick Henry, and then it'll just kind of come down to how much he can tinker around those pieces, because he's gonna tinker, right? He's gonna, any one of these guys could be on a different roster, by the end of the show even. So like, yeah, like right now, I don't know if the supporting cast is like really consistent enough or good enough even, but I can't say for certain that he's not gonna find his way into the right configuration of guys I think this team needs to succeed. So yeah, I definitely take them pretty seriously. Yeah.
John and I are talking trade right now,
All
so
right.
we'll see.
Well,
No,
okay. Let's move on to the next matchup. We have our reigning champs, Yonkers Honky Tonkers, beating Orange County, 159.7 to 131.7. Let's start with the reigning champs. Alex, what did you see out of this team?
Yeah, I think so. I will say almost pretty much every year in this league since I've rejoined, I feel like Jay is always like outperforming the projected score and like like you kind of look at the players and you're like, oh, I don't know, it doesn't seem right, like something seems off
Yep.
here. And then they kind of just do well. And then it's like, it's like it's sort of picks the players he likes and then sticks with them and it just kind of works.
Yep.
So see then that's I feel like is exactly what happened in week 1 where
Yep.
I kind of saw the roster and I was like, I think like it's like Bryce Young is starting and Leggett is starting, and it's like you don't even have injuries yet. These feel like
Why
backup.
is
Like
I don't understand. Why did he start Xavier Leggett?
His mind
It,
works in mysterious ways is part of it.
gotta live a little.
Yeah.
You gotta live a
You
little.
gotta live a little. You're right. Yeah.
I
will say
that juicy Panther stack.
Yeah, I will say
Yeah.
they were ranked 8th in the preseason rankings last year. So yeah, this is pretty consistent. I think pretty much every year, going into the preseason poll, they're usually like bottom 3. Like teams don't really understand their team comp. Like everyone's emphasizing strong quarterbacks, and he goes in with like Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold, and people are like, "What is this team?" But I do think he has outperformed, the preseason expectations pretty much every year, right? So I think, a lot of teams and a lot of people are like, "Oh, like you gotta zig when people are zagging," and like they try too hard to find that zig or that zag or whatever. But I think Yonkers just kind of naturally has that, right? Like he kind of naturally has counter opinions that, aren't really mostly held by other people. And I think he benefits from it every year by, slightly outperforming what a lot of people think is going to come out of their team. Like Travis Etienne, I think, is a pretty big example. Like, not to take a victory lap on him, like after week 1, but like, no fantasy experts were, pumping Travis Etienne. Nobody was like, oh, this is the year Travis Etienne like breaks out. They were like, oh, Tank Bigsby, blah blah, like
yeah.
Quint Allen, even Tayshaun Labutin. Like they were grabbing like every possible person you could name, out of that backfield. And Travis Etienne was the presumptive starter, but like went for really cheap. And like I think that's just an example of like how his counter, like takes are just carrying him to a better than what a lot of people are expecting result every year. Yeah. So Diaz, you have anything to say about this team?
Classic Patrick Mahomes, where for 3 quarters you're like, oh, he's not having a good game, and
Yeah.
then he ends up with 34 points.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the rushing yards really. He runs for enough
Yeah.
like big first down rushes that, like it, it gives him just enough to like put up pretty big scores, even though his passing
Especially
numbers
when
are
they're losing. I feel
yeah
like when they're losing, he really starts to take
yeah
out the rushing, bring in the rushing stuff.
yeah, and the tempo goes up a little bit, so like
Hmm.
he tends to like ugly his way to
Like the
like
best
30
thing, the
fantasy
best
points.
thing you want if you're Mahomes, if you have Mahomes, is just for them to be losing all the time.
Yeah. When they're
Like
up, then they
yeah, like
slow down the
they're so
clock. They
boring.
they
They're
they run the
so
ball
slow and
so
so
much, and
boring.
they'll just like
Yeah,
take their time. They
yeah.
choke out games pretty much, similar to the
Hmm.
Eagles, just in a slightly different way. And then
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley, like these are there's some good bones here for sure. Like I don't love the Bryce Young Leggett combo either, but like that's something.
You don't
Yeah,
get.
that's something that they can sort through, right? Like that's something that is
Yeah,
in progress. Geno Smith had a pretty good game, so maybe Geno
yeah.
Smith starts going
Yeah.
forward. I
And
think
I
this
would guess there was a little bit of like that people were saying was going to be like stormy in New
yeah,
England and all
yeah,
that. Maybe it was just a 1 week sort of like
yeah,
avoid the crazy
right,
rain, and I would guess Gino's going to be starting
yeah.
for
But
Yonkers
yeah, I'm,
next
I'm
week.
saying like I think our power rankings pretty much all had Yonkers, bottom two, right? And on paper, like I agree, but then like I see week one, and then if ETN is like actually somewhat of a thing, Saquon is still Saquon, Mahomes is still kind of Mahomes, like in ugly ways, and then Egbuka is like if he's like a legit like rookie breakout, like all of a sudden this team all of a sudden jumps into like my top five of at least like teams have how I would rank them mentally, right? So it might be an overreaction, but I actually came away from this week um, realizing, oh, Yonkers is a lot closer to being a real threat than I initially thought. Like, I think even he kind of downplayed his own chances of this year, like saying like, oh, like his keepers weren't set up very well, and like he he was gonna have a
Yeah,
down year after a championship winning year, but he might have been sandbagging. He might have been sandbagging because
he is. He definitely is.
yeah,
I
and
think
long term, well,
Jay.
yeah. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
he does everything good, not great, and you can tell when you
Yeah,
look at this roster.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It's not flashy. I
Hmm.
think it's just solid. Like you just pick up a Mike Evans. You have like everyone was doubting Mahomes. I mean, he's still a good quarterback, right? I mean, he's
Yeah.
not gonna always give you something close to 40, but he's
Hmm.
gonna give you at least 20, I think,
Yeah,
week to
yeah,
week. And that's gonna get you wins in the league as you face against these Megazords that
yeah. Then
might pop off 1 week, but then the next week they played in a hailstorm, and so
yep,
you put up your number of 150.
yep,
Everyone else will see, right?
yeah.
So I think he's gonna get wins. He's gonna be in the top half. He's gonna be in the running for the playoffs. And then what he also does really well is draft well. Brock
Hmm.
Bowers,
Yep,
right? That's from last year. And make it Ubuka, right? So
yep,
this year he's already looking like a star.
yep,
Week one.
yep.
So I think he's gonna be able to get a couple wins here and there, be really consistent week to week.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So I think we're all somewhat in agreement that Yonkers probably should be considered much more of a threat than I think a lot of team or a lot of people were giving them credit for. Now Orange County, they were a hard team to peg for me, and I don't know if this week made it any easier. What do you think, Mike? What did you see from the Pooper Troopers week one?
The Seattle Zord may be not what we expected, well,
Yeah,
not what we were hoping
yeah,
for it to be. I think there was a lot of hope for Seattle with Clint Kubiak because of what he did in New Orleans in the beginning of last season.
hmm,
But it was a really small sample size, and it kind of gave me some pause between that and obviously Sam Darnold um, moving from the location where he had so much success in Minnesota.
yeah,
And the good news is JSN gets 60% target share. So
yeah,
if that keeps up, then I think he'll do very well. But the rest of those pieces, I have to say, is a concern.
yeah. Yeah. For me, like Orange County is a really weird team where they have like depth of running back, like pretty crazy. Like Aaron Jones was on the bench, David Montgomery was on the bench, and for a lot of other teams, like those aren't options you would just have on their bench. But the problem is then if you have running back as like a big invested part of your team, then running back has to perform for you like every week, right? And if you get, 12, 11, and 3.15 out of 3 running back spots, like yeah, great. That means you have a lot of like somewhat playable running backs, but like you need more, you're giving up wide receiver strength by, having so many spots at running back. You got to be able to pick and choose some really good performances and 12 and 11 aren't terrible, but I'm sure they foresaw like them getting a lot more. So if that doesn't turn around, if Las Vegas doesn't consistently like have a running game that they can like get behind, because Gianti scored a touchdown too. He just didn't really get yards, so that's concerning. Um, Irving also just didn't get yards, so like it's not about like scoring. They both scored, but if they're only putting up 12 and 11, and you know so much of your team investment is in running back, then like you're not going to be able to win many weeks. So I am kind of concerned with how this team is constructed. I think they probably need some balancing trades, or just some guys to like start showing up like right away in week 2. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, a little. I mostly agree. I think, a little nervous about a lot of these guys in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
Like I like the quarterback. I like Hurts. I think Dak will be better. Like I think Dak was
Yep.
very close to having like a
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
score, and just a couple things went wrong, and
Yep.
and he looked fine. He looked healthy.
Yep.
All that's good, but yeah, just not a lot of star power.
Yep.
And besides that, and I
Yeah.
think that's going to be the hard thing
Yeah.
is
Waddle,
getting
Judy, Diggs is shaky at best. Like 2 to 4 in your receiving room, and like not a lot in each of those games where I'm like, oh, like that'll turn around for sure. I think it could be up and down for pretty much all 3 of those guys. So
Yeah, and it's just
I'm
like once you start
yeah.
really adding up the numbers, it's just like how are we getting to like 150,
Yeah,
160 kind of
consistently.
weeks,
Yeah.
like if it feels, yeah, like I think it's, not the worst team, but I think it is like, so one of these guys has to be a more better and more consistent than kind of we're expecting.
Mm-hmm. Wonky, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm interested in seeing what Duho's blood pressure is looking like when he sees this on Sundays during the week. I think if you look at the roster, it's got the most red flags out of any of the ones that we've already
Yeah, yeah.
looked at. Like it's week one,
Uh,
and it actually has been a very healthy week one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Not too
yep.
many injuries, but for some reason, Duho has all these guys that are IR or not playing or suspended or
yeah,
Right,
yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
yeah.
Um,
This might not be the right team to be waiting on Jordan Addison to like come back, and like
Mhm.
that might be for some other team to be really kind of playing with, but yeah, go on.
no, that's it. That's my point. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just astonishing to me.
yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
little surprised actually. I
yeah.
didn't realize.
Yeah, you
I'm
say it for
actually
some reason, but Duho made the active choice to select guys who were suspended.
That's
Yeah,
true.
I guess that's true.
Yeah,
But it's also even like Kenneth Walker, right? He's healthy right now,
yeah,
but that's not a guy known for
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
being healthy, right? I
yeah,
mean,
Uh-huh.
yeah, as
And just is he even startable based
yeah,
on what we saw this? You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like even
yeah.
even healthy healthy Kenneth Walker is
Yeah.
startable right
And
now.
Aaron Jones
uh,
is also not a guy for immaculate health. Like, he's carrying a lot of
yeah.
guys that I would say aren't reliable, like Jalen Waddle. Like he lives in the blue tent. Who's had Jalen Waddle on
Oh
their
my
Yes.
god.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have,
yeah.
Yup, I've
yeah.
had him.
We
I
all
got
had
him
him.
too,
Yeah,
Oh
Wonky.
my god.
yeah.
I haven't, but
Terrible.
I know him for his blue tent exploits. He's famous in the blue tent. He
I
has
think
like
he actually plays a lot of games though. It's
he does,
crazy. He
he does,
doesn't.
he does. He always
Yeah, he
leaves
doesn't like.
with something, and then he comes back, and then like he goes to the blue
And he
tent again.
plays.
It's
Yeah.
he's just a blue
Yeah.
tent aficionado. So
Get used
yeah,
to it though. That red
yeah.
flag.
I'm a little surprised he didn't you know try for the Tillman poach himself. Like maybe his roster
Oh.
is a little bit too clogged, but he
He said he
seems.
doesn't want too many. He doesn't want to be too invested in the Browns because he already has Judy.
That's fair. That's
and
fair.
and Judkins.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
He does need some kind of help, but yeah, maybe more Browns
Yeah.
is not the answer.
Get-
Listen, Duho, it's not too late.
assemble the Browns Megazord.
Yeah, that's
They
rarely
face the
that.
Ravens next.
Flacco is available.
They face the Ravens next. All right.
Yeah.
True.
So yeah, I think Orange County is one of the teams that I'd be a little bit more worried about. Definitely gonna have to try to like limp through these weeks until I think at least Addison gets back and like either Diggs or somebody in that receiving core kind of establishes themselves. But yeah, I would be a little bit worried going forward. Okay, that brings us to our last two teams. We'll start with Williston Park. They snuck out a pretty close win.
Game of the week right here.
Game of the week.
Yeah.
It came down to the last play. Actually, I forgot.
Crazy.
Pretty scintillating. Williston Park was I think last in the power rankings. No, second. Tied for eighth actually. So definitely not a team that a lot of people were expecting to make too much noise. And it's kind of crazy. Joe Burrow put up 11.9 points, and he got 0.75 out of Jerome Ford, and he still won. I'm not really sure what happened here. Um, Alex, can you explain what?
Uh, yeah, I mean, well, so look at the defenses is number one. We've got a
Yeah, that's a 24-point swing.
24 point gap in the defenses, so that is
Mm.
always can make up for a lot of mistakes
Yeah.
there. So that's a big one, and then yeah, I think Caleb, some heroics from Caleb on the sort of garbage time touchdown drive, and then the that sort of hook and ladder eked out the last point and a half or whatever.
Yeah.
Probably, between that last garbage time touchdown drive and the hook and ladder was probably like 10 points or so,
Yeah,
and I think that that kind of made the difference.
Yeah. I will say
yeah,
for this
I think.
team. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say the I think the sort of bright spots for Wilson Park, I think, is like Garrett Wilson looked like it looked
Yeah.
exciting again
Yeah.
for the first time in a while, and
Yeah.
I think there's clearly a good connection, and
Yeah.
I think he knows how to like what's Field's specialty is just throwing line drives, and I think
Yeah.
Wilson is a guy who kind of he grew up, he was at Ohio State,
Yeah,
he knows
yeah.
how to
He's
knows
not
how
surprised
to
by
work around that.
the bullet to the chest. He's ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah, so like there's clearly something there that I think is like pretty good. And Kyron got a bunch of carries, and that's just going to be how it is. And I think even in a game there's a very low offense game, like he's one of those guys who's just going to get you 10 points or maybe sometimes 20 points.
Yep,
And
yep.
it's always going to be that way, and
Yep.
it's nice consistency. So, and Tyler Warren looked great from the part of the game that he had to play in. So I think some bright spots, but it is you're not going to get 20 points from your defense every week, and so it's definitely good to cash in when you do and get the wins when you do.
Yeah, Diaz, what
Andrew
do you think?
Chu, why is Amari Cooper on your team, bro?
Yeah.
What is happening here? Listen, you're allowed to have a mascot, but when you have Jerome Ford and David Njoku in your flex, my guy, please, you gotta put an active NFL player on your bench.
Yeah. Speaking of too many Browns, that might be too many Browns. I will say, my positive takeaway for Williston Park is that I'm not sold on Caleb Williams being good or like even okay real life, but I think Ben Johnson might coax out a good fantasy year out of him where it doesn't look pretty, but like he schemes together just enough of like a good opening drive every week where he gets a good chunk of points, and then enough garbage time to like it could be one of those like sneaky bad in real life but sneaky good in fantasy type of years for Caleb Williams, which is better than bad in both kind of years, So if that holds true, Williston Park does have a pretty decent foundation of Joe Burrow, who in theory at least should be a lot better than this, and a decently scoring QB too to build upon. He definitely just needs to like clean up, you know, the Amari Coopers off the roster, and Jerome Ford starting in the flex is not great. But week one, you kind of just want to make sure you come away feeling good about like the building blocks, the core, and I think there's enough to feel good about Kyron, Garrett Wilson, Tyler Warren, even Sutton, and like I think he got enough good signs out of like the pieces that matter, where he definitely counts himself lucky for getting away with starting Ford and Joku in the flex and still winning. And if he fixes those going forward, this could actually be a pretty frisky team. Um, Wonky, what do you think?
I think it looks like Yonkers light. Like it's like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
idea of Yonkers,
yeah.
but like knockoff versions of them. The other thing I'd mention also is that he does have Rushy Rice and
Oh
Brandon
yeah,
Ayuk. My dog's going crazy. So like, I think Williston needs to just survive the first half of the season. Once
yeah.
these guys come in, he might ride that wave until the end.
Yeah, no, Rashi Rice is pretty big. That's why banking this win has to feel really good because like if he can get to Rice coming back at like 3-3 or even 2-4, he's got to feel a lot better about filling out this roster, and then Joe Burrow starts doing Joe Burrow things again, and yeah, I mean, this team could definitely be a threat. I will say, like, it's so hard to overlook any team. Like, doing preseason rankings is so pointless almost because like every team has their own pathway and their own routes to being like decent or like enough of a threat. It's like pure just randomly throwing out names after like one or two teams usually in the preseason power rankings. It's like I don't know, like all these teams could be good, so I think this is another team that kind of feels just like that. Like yeah, like some teams are messier around the edges, like they have the Amari Coopers like sitting on their rosters, but like if you think like okay, like those can be fixed pretty easily by just like picking up better guys on waivers, and like you know if those guys bust out instead of like the guys that I already have on my roster, then like he didn't really lose anything for having garbage at the end of his roster. So yeah, I think Wilson Park winning week one definitely puts them in the mix. Definitely needed that win to carry them through the tough times with Rice and Ayuk out, and they could be pretty strong down the road.
Yeah. I'm not quite ready to go within the mix, but I would say
Yeah,
it's good to good to have a
within.
win,
Yep.
and definitely agree. Maybe some check out the waivers this week because there's definitely more exciting players than Amari Cooper, who is currently sitting at home on the couch.
And the last team to talk about, Virginia, they lost it on a heartbreaker. Um, you know, I don't know if anything on their team really went wrong. I guess Jamar Chase putting up three is a huge outlier. And the defense going negative, right? So, but otherwise, I think I'm maybe higher on this team than I was week one, or not higher, but because I thought it was a pretty good team, but I feel more strongly that this is like a pretty good team. What do you think, Diaz?
Um, the Devon Achan is like the can't keep getting away with it meme of just like how is the entire offense totally useless and this dude scores double digits every
Yeah,
week.
I don't know.
Um, but I mean, like Brees was a big one. Brees was a huge one
Yeah,
because I think a lot of people in the industry and clearly in the auction, a lot of people in our league
yeah,
were discounting him. And thinking he was going to be in a 50-50 timeshare.
yeah,
There's not going to be any offense in New York. He's not that good. He's whatever. And I think like clearly he's the lead back in the backfield.
yeah.
Clearly he's more dynamic.
Yeah.
The more dynamic
I thought it
back
was
in the
crazy
backfield.
that people were saying, Braylon Allen is secretly the more talented running back. Like,
Yeah.
it just seems like people are getting like used to or tired of like Brees Hall being that guy, but like to me, he was always the more talented running back for me.
And the other thing I'll say is um, it it is very. I got deja vu watching Jamar Chase not show up when you needed him to score like fucking 5 points.
That's true.
Oh
He
no.
did go off after you. I mean, he was still good last year,
Yeah,
but
I know.
he
Yeah,
went off after you traded him. So yeah,
yeah.
maybe he just doesn't like the first team he starts with. He needs a change of scenery. Yeah, Wonky, you have any thoughts about this team?
I think it's a really good team. I think the main thing that stands out to me is Justin Herbert. Uh, Watching that Chargers game, he
Mm-hmm.
passed a lot.
Yeah.
And he looked really, really good.
Pass,
So
run. Pass, run.
yeah, it was a lot of passing.
Yeah.
And I thought that was Greg Roman.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if he keeps that up and Lad McConkey won't. I mean, he was pretty solid, but I think generally, I think he's gonna be really good for that team
Yeah.
unless Cuge takes everything.
Yeah.
Um, we'll see moving forward. But yeah, no, I think this is a team that you look at it, starting lineup. You can't really talk
Yeah.
about anything.
Yeah. It's a
It's just
well-crafted
solid
team.
all the way. He's Virginia's doing it again. Like Brees Hall last year was Saquon. Maybe this year it's Brees Hall, right? That might carry him
Yeah.
to a playoff berth and deep into the playoffs. So looking solid yet again. Nothing more to add, I think,
Yeah.
from me.
Alex?
Yeah. I think most of the guys on this roster, other than Chase, who is hard to worry about, like seem pretty solid in their roles, and
Yeah.
even like Herbert looked. Yeah, that's the biggest thing really, is that the offense looked more dynamic than last year. So that's a big thing. If that's really like a passing offense that's playing, spreading the ball around and moving quickly, I think there's a pretty high upside for this group.
Yeah, I think it would be totally wrong to think any less of this team because their downfalls were really kind of Pittsburgh defense, um, and Jamar Chase putting up 3 points, and neither one of those I think, are something that you can knock this team for going forward. And then if you just take those two
Yeah,
out,
I mean
like
the Pittsburgh defense might suck. Like I think
yeah,
that's a
right.
real
That's yeah,
possibility.
but that's
So
replaceable.
but you'll know that in 3 weeks, right? And
Right,
then
yeah.
you
And
won't be
then
playing them anymore.
really everything else about the team, like, I don't know. I mean, Travis Hunter, but that game was just weird, but like and even that like isn't something that he's going to be super reliant on. Like he has Javonte Williams on
No,
the
Travis
bench.
Hunter was huge. He played all the snaps on offense.
He did.
That's what you were looking
He
for.
did. That is
That's a
yeah, no,
that's a huge.
it was a good sign more than
That
anything.
that that game, yeah, that game was not like that game. I'm not reading
It's not a real
anything from
game. Yeah,
that
that's not a
game
real game. That was a fake
for
game.
other
Yeah.
the only thing I'm taking away from that game is that Bryce Young is probably not going to be starting for
Yeah.
Yonkers next week.
Yeah. Yeah, this is like pretty much I think as optimistic as you could be about a team after a loss. Like I really don't see any negative indicators that I would take forward with me into week 2. So like, I wouldn't be worried at all about this team if I was you know, a Virginia fan or anything. So yeah, I
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, any
question
other
for
thoughts?
you, Dustin. So
Yeah.
you are 1-0
Yeah.
with your roster. Would you swap with Virginia
Mm.
roster and take the
Ooh.
0-1?
That's a good question. I would say no to most teams, but I think Virginia I might. It's very
Yeah, I
well rounded and
think that's reasonable. Yeah.
yeah, and you know, I I don't think that Pittsburgh, you can switch out defense pretty easily and get around that. And there's yeah, I there are teams that won with more concerning like
Absolutely.
question
Yep.
marks after week 1
Yep.
than Virginia. Like what is the worst you can say? Like, oh, Olave kind of like isn't that good, but like whatever. He's like their third or fourth, like third or fourth receiver, and like pretty much everyone else had like pretty positive or like neutral days. Like even Jordan Love only put up 21 points, but he played pretty well. Like they just kind of let the foot off the gas and like yeah, I think Virginia might be the second scariest team to me after Harlem, but he is closer to the mix than I think Harlem is above everyone else. So we'll see if all this continues for them. Obviously, things can change really fast week to week. Maybe the Chargers go back to running the ball a lot after week one. Like, week ones can often seem a lot more magnified and like representative of what the season's going to be like than they actually are. Like, it could have just been game plan and specific like stuff that we're getting caught up on. So, yeah, I think that covers all the teams. You guys have anything else to throw out about week one that was surprising or
Yeah, Chargers, go back to running the ball. What the hell?
yeah, okay, then yeah, I mean, it was a fun week one. I think I think everyone does agree that there is a favorite, but we'll have to see how strong of a favorite they are, all the way. So that's a good opportunity to say we'll see. And I think that's it for the show. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.
So,
Thanks. See ya.